So in today's video we're taking a look at my D-8304. You can see from the photos that it also came in this rather snazzy yellow. Now the D-8304 was part of Philips's is that even a word? It was part of Philips Move-In Sound series. They also had the Philips Roller, which was the radio cassette or single radio cassette that looked like it had two round things on either side, so the two round speakers sort of almost looked like wheels, probably hence the Roller name. Now with my particular deck here, I decided that I wanted to fit some new belts to the cassette mechanism, and you got this top board which covers the cassette mechanism. So I had to unplug the wires for the speaker cable, which is that white connector to the bottom of the picture, just next to the headphone connector. So before doing that I took a photo of how the cables were laid out, and that came in useful a little bit later when I was putting the new belts back on. Now I've got a selection of square belts that you can see to the top right of the picture, and I had a couple of suitable belts which I was able to use to redo the belts on this particular deck. The one problem that I now seem to have with the cassette deck is you can put a tape in, it will start to play. There is a bit of woe and flutter, which does make me think I need to give the pinch rollers a bit of a clean, but it makes a horrible screeching sound, which I believe is the capstan either sticking, or the capstan bearings are either dry or have worn out. So what I might do at some point is dismantle the unit again and just give everything very light lubrication, especially that capstan area. In fact, I can actually see if I can get to the capstan bearings from the top side, in other words through the cassette door, to see if I can lubricate them that way. However, if I do that, I run the risk of contaminating the top portion of the capstan, so that it will actually start slipping against the cassette and ultimately slipping against the pinch roller. Cleaning the pinch roller and probably cleaning the entire tape path will also be something else that I will do. You can see here on the other phone that we got the picture of the speaker cables, and I was able to get the speaker cables plugged back into that connector without too much trouble. It does use strange connectors on this machine. You literally sort of push them down and the cables come out, or if you put in the cables back in, they will sort of just pop back in quite nicely. It's an unusual design, but it seems to work quite effectively. Now in the end I opted against removing the speakers for cleaning this front grille. So using the toothbrush and a bit of degreaser sprayed onto the toothbrush, I literally just sort of scraped the toothbrush across the speaker grille and was actually able to clean the machine quite effectively. Now after making the video I actually noted that there was underneath the cassette doors, as you can see there, some grime that I was unable to get to with the toothbrush. Using a cotton bud or Q-tip I was able to get into there and able to clean that out, and the machine looks a lot better. The finish itself, it would have been a bright white finish originally, but as the years have gone by it's obviously sort of become this slightly sort of yellowed, faded appearance, which isn't bad. I mean, it's still, with my view, it's still quite a nice looking machine. It's unusual. And it seems to sort of hark to that time where Philips were making some very bright, very loud machines. I'd quite like to be able to get hold of the equivalent deck of this, but in the yellow, which does seem to have some sort of different graphics. It does seem to have a different graphical treatment, which is quite interesting. Now, on the whole, the machine has actually come up pretty well. It's not looking too bad. Running the toothbrush across those function buttons for the cassette mechanism has got rid of some of the ingrained dirt and also some of the paint that was attached to them. The next thing that I needed to do was just to refit the power supply into the back of the machine that, as you can see, I'm doing here. Off camera, those two loose cables which were connected to the battery terminals were resoldered back onto the correct battery terminals. So if I ever opted to put the many D cells this machine takes, if I was ever inclined to actually sort of put those in, I could use batteries if I so wanted. I don't know why, but I could. So when you are actually putting the machine back together, you have to be a bit wary of the sliders on the top of the machine for the function switches, and make sure that they do connect up correctly with the switches on the actual board in the machine. What I did was to put all of the switches on the machine in a position, basically sort of in a single position, so the same position for each switch, and that allowed me to set all of the switches on the top cover, or the back cover rather, first, and then put the back cover on, and then the actual plastic lugs on the back cover met up with the machine, with the board in the machine, and I was able to get it all working and didn't sort of have any further issues after that. The mode switch, so the switch that basically switches between radio and tape and high-speed dubbing, is a bit dirty, so it doesn't seem to have come back, so you do have to wobble it slightly to get the machine working on both channels, so that'll be something that I'll need to look at in a future video. Also, I need to take a look at that aerial, so I want to get a replacement aerial and get that fixed up. Now, the machine itself, radio appears to be working, even though there is no aerial at the moment, and it is working quite well. The quality of the sound is pretty good as well, and on the whole it really is not a bad machine. So in this final clip here, I'm actually testing the machine out, as you can hear. And it does come with this 5-band graphic equalizer. I kept the volume low because I was doing this fairly late at night and I didn't want to wake up the children. But you can actually turn the sound up quite loud. I think it's I'm not sure how many watts it is. It's one of that central speaker is about 8 watts. And the two outside speakers are about 4, so if you add that together it's 16 watts. I don't know if that's RMS. If you then sort of, start measuring it in PMPO, it's even more wattage. But it's quite a loud little deck. It's not bad at all. Tape deck wise, it's a little bit basic. There's no Dolby sound reduction or anything of that sort of nature. But it's not a bad deck, to be honest with you. Dolby noise reduction, rather. Anyway, that pretty much concludes this video. The next thing I need to do is to really get inside and have a look at that cassette mechanism. If you found this interesting, don't forget to hit that like button, and also consider subscribing for more upcoming fascinating hobbies. Thank you very much for watching.